Harper Audio presents Drama, An Actor's Education by John Lithgow. This is the author. Dedicated to Mary. Preface. In the summer of 2002, my father was 86 years old. He'd been the picture of health all his life, but that summer he started to have some serious medical problems. There was an operation that could address these problems, but his doctors wanted to avoid it if at all possible. The operation involved major abdominal surgery, and they were afraid that it might be too much for an old man's system. But finally there was no choice. His health was plummeting, and his doctors decided that to save him they would have to operate. So a date was set, and on the morning he went into surgery, the family was told that he had only a 50% chance of surviving it. Now, these were scary words, of course, but in fact, he did survive it, and we all breathed a huge, collective sigh of relief. But by the time he was discharged from the hospital, we had started to worry all over again. The operation had taken its toll. It had weakened him terribly and had drastically slowed him down. Worst of all, it had taken away his spirit. This genial man, with his impish humor and his boisterous laugh, fell silent and plunged into a deep depression. It didn't help that he and my 84-year-old mother lived alone, with nobody looking after them. For years, my brother, my two sisters, and I had repeatedly offered to set them up in a retirement community, but they had refused to even consider it. Instead, they had ended up in a condo of their own choosing outside of Amherst, Massachusetts, living like a little old couple in a cabin in the woods in a Grimm's fairy tale. And when my mother drove my father home from the hospital, that's where she took him. There they were. My father struggling to convalesce, my mother struggling to take care of him, and she wasn't in such great shape either. It was a catastrophe. Something had to be done. Of us 4 siblings, I was the only one out of work. I had time on my hands. So, with my wife's encouragement, I dropped everything, flew across the country, and moved in with my parents. The task was simple. I would tend to my father, help out my mother, organize Dad's post-operative therapies, and figure out some system of ongoing care for both of them. The plan was for me to stay with them for exactly 1 month and have everything nicely in order by the time I left. I can do this, I thought. It'll be easy. It wasn't. The first few days I was there, I practically fell apart. The situation was far worse than I had expected. I saw immediately that I was going to have to take care of my father, a frail old man, as if he were a little baby. He was too weak to sit up in bed. He was tormented by bed sores and a baby's burning diaper rash. He couldn't stand or walk without help. He couldn't get to the dining room table, let alone manage a bathtub, a shower, or a toilet. Worst of all, he had been sent home from the hospital with terse instructions to painstakingly change his own catheter, reinserting it every day, and to keep careful written records of the workings of his own internal plumbing. At 86 years old. It was my job to help him through all this, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was in way over my head. It was exhausting work, and it was unbearably sad. Every night I would get on the phone to my wife, back home in Los Angeles, and just sob. The days passed and things improved, but they didn't improve much. My mother...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?